on any LE range, right? The first one is the guy who can burn it the fuck down. Command staff recognizes that, so they put him on the range to make everyone else better. Cool. The second guy is, oh my God, get that motherfucker off the street before something goes really, really bad. Like, sir, he's about to retire in a year. What are we gonna do? Put him on the range, right? Now, even though those guys are of two dispositions, extreme dispositions and skill sets, they wind up being in the same place with their students, right? So the first guy, right, the guy who can really shoot and wants to help goes, okay, well, he hit all my parameters, but I gotta give him something, right? Gotta give him something. Hey bro, good shooting, but what's the deal with these line breaks? He goes, what the fuck? You've been talking for 2 fucking days about how line breaks count. Now you're gonna change the rules on me? Hey bro, you're a cool dude, you can shoot. I'll have a beer with you, but for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and stop listening because you changed the rules on me, right? All right. Next guy, the guy who can't shoot goes, ah, fuck, I can't do that. I can't let him know I can't do that. So, knife hand, hey motherfucker, did you have to use the whole 2-inch square? Did you shoot that with an 870 or what? Right? And he goes like, hey bro, I've seen you shoot. I know you can't do that. So you go fuck your couch. I'm gonna go ahead and stop listening, right? So that's why I call this target an FO target. I don't care if he hits your parameter by an inch or a mile, right? If he does, and this is a message to the coach, not the shooter, you need to fuck off and move on, all right? Who's your coach more than anybody else? Yourself. How many times have you should have just told yourself to fuck off and move on because you got other shit to do? Does that make sense? Anybody who gets 3 FOs, you get a free shirt. All right, cool. Got to put the screws to them somehow. Anyway, all right, cool. Shot. Okay, cool. Guys, listen to the way I ask the questions, right? I ask, if they missed more than they hit, I ask about the hits. If they hit more than they miss, I ask about the misses, right? I'm trying to focus on the successful hits, right? And depending on what they did is how I come to that. I also ask if they missed, when the misses were, and that's how I come up with a diagnosis, okay? So looks like we got maybe 1, 2. Do you know which one those 2 were in the string?
They were towards the beginning.
Towards the beginning? Okay, so then we figured something out and brought it over to the left. What'd you figure out, bro?
I don't know.
No, you don't know.
I tried to make sure the dot was steadier on the top of the hem.
Okay, and how did you do that?
It.
How'd you do that?
Making sure I was looking at the M.
Okay, there you go. So what do we see, right? So we had a little bit of a deviation and he fixed it by focusing on the M, right? Now there are degrees of getting sucked into the dot. He has a great grip, a great trigger press, right? Because he's been doing it for so long. So when he gets sucked into the dot a little bit, it's over here. For some of you guys, it's gonna be down here or over here, right? His level of skill, right, has minimized the mistake. That's ultimately what we wanna get to, right? So it's interesting. So my buddy Ernest Langdon, right? He's very eloquent. He says, you could tell the quality of the shooter by the quality of his misses, right? Me, I'm a knuckle dragger. I go, we train hard to minimize the shit show. Does that make sense? But you guys both understand that. Use what you want to. All right, moving on. Okay, who shot?
I did.
Okay, which ones? I think we shot more than 10. Which ones were these 4 right here?
The last ones.
The last one. So we started off well.
Yes.
And then it went to shit.
Yes.
Okay. So guys, this is not physically taxing, this is mentally taxing, right? But just like everything else, we have to build up that dexterity, right? No one goes out and is like, I'm gonna run a marathon today, and you go fucking hit the 27 miles. Nobody does that shit, all right? No one says, you know what, today is the day that I hit a 400-pound deadlift, even though I've never done a deadlift before. We need to work up to that stuff, right? So we did 6, then we missed 4. So what I want you doing is breaking it up, right? Do 5, no matter how well or how poorly you're doing, do another 5, okay? And then eventually we get that dexterity, we can do all 10 without having to reset anything, okay? Cool, moving on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Who shot? Okay, which ones were these 4?
So I'm just now thinking about it. I didn't use my index finger as a bench. So
Okay.
I was pushing up to 1 o'clock.
Yep.
That fucked me.
Okay.
So that platform really sucked. The 2 on the, I'm using a new trigger. The
Okay.
new trigger I've had, it has a longer travel.
Yep.
I've only had about.
So we're just getting well, and that particular timing and the pre-travel and the number of walls on it, right? We just need to get, but then you figured it out, yeah? So it was in the beginning and then you figured it out.
Yeah, and then the left one is the support hand being a bitch.
Okay, there you go. Good analysis. All right, moving on. All right, so one down there, one.
That was actually 2. Yeah.
Yeah,
this is
well,
2.
okay, well, good mud hole, I can't tell. So let's talk about that one and that one. What number?
So the one on the right, the 2 there, that was actually shots 1 and 3.
Okay,
Being a little bit of a bitch. And the one that hit down by the R was like number 7.
okay.
I fucking pre-ignition pushed it bigger than shit, and I just kind of stopped, reset it, and then finished off the last 3.
Okay, so notice how we gave 2 different diagnoses, but actually it was the same thing, okay? This being a little bit of a bitch, but when it was a bitch, that meant it was forward, and that's why, because you're right-handed, right? So he pushed it to the right, pre-ignition push, right? So here's the deal. If we don't have a brick wall here, right? But if I pre-ignition pushed on a brick wall, what would the wall do? Not a fucking thing. Make your support hand a brick wall. Make it a brick wall. So it's the same thing. How you applied it was differently. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. Do you remember what it felt like right before you shot that one?
Yeah.
Next time, preempt it.
Yep.
Right? Relax, bring it on back, and finish your set, right? That's why we do the mulligans, guys, to get that higher level of understanding of about, I feel like I'm about to fuck up, and then you wind up preempting it, and then your body understands what it feels like before the mistake happens, and it does micro adjustments while you're shooting. For example, did I adjust my grip in my 10 shots? I did not, because my body knows what a good upward pressure up and slightly back to the 1 o'clock grip feels like. So it does micro adjustments because I know what shit feels like. I know what great feels like. And then my subconscious understands how to fix it on the fly. Does that make sense? Cool. Awesome. Moving on. All right. Okay, who shot? All right. Tell me about the 5 hits, bro.
I started in my support hand. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard relaxing this right hand, and I did it at the end.
Yeah, but then you did it at the end,
Yeah.
right? So notice what he just said. Man, this drill is fucking hard, but I did it. Okay, cool. So notice what I ask him, right, guys? I ask when the misses versus the hits were, okay? If I come up, right, for example, on his, he missed the first 5, adjusted, and hit the last 5, right? If I come up and I just start spitting methodology at him, he's gonna forget what he figured out. So ask him what he figured out, because what he figured out is now his idea. And nothing sticks unless it becomes your idea. Does that make sense, right? So even though you figure on the last 5, I think we just have a little mental dexterity going on. So I want you doing 4, reset 2, focusing on that support hand, okay? As a matter of fact, let me do a little demo for you guys while we're doing this, right? I want to show you how unimportant your firing hand is for recoil control. So let's come back here. Just gonna be at the 4-yard line here. So guys, where the holes go, don't watch the holes. Get to a position where you can see my gun, all right? All right, so for you guys videoing this right now, this does not go on the internet. Because the internet, well, you can video it, it just doesn't go on the internet, because the internet doesn't have a 1 meter off rule, okay? Makes sense? All right, so I'm just gonna shoot this thing one-handed. We are not gonna apply any extra technique. We all know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna shoot, and it's gonna go to the path of least resistance, right? Now I'm gonna take the gun and hold the gun in my support hand the way I've been teaching you guys to, right? But now I'm just gonna pull the trigger just with my trigger finger. Watch my gun. What'd it do? Not a goddamn thing. So how do I have better recoil control with just my support hand than you do with both hands? Something to think about, right? In actuality, what you need to do is do exactly what I did, just with your firing hand on the gun, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Cool, because you just saw it. Awesome. Downrange, moving on.
Downrange.
Okay. Those 2, who shot? Okay, what were those 2, buddy?
So the first one was right in the middle of the M, and then the second one was far left, which means I have to correct it. And
Okay. Guys, you can compensate sideways too. Obviously, we already talked about that, right? So we saw that one. So wasn't good enough for him. Had to be in the middle of the middle. So to make it in the middle of the middle, he went ahead and missed. And that's exactly what happened. That sounds like bullshit, but how many times have you guys actually fucking done that? All the time, right? That's why I'm trying to tell you, line breaks don't fucking count. I don't care if it's in a high corner or in the middle of the middle of the middle. If it hit the 2-inch square, you're good to go, right? So don't do that. All right, moving on. All right, so I think we shot more than 10,
Yeah, a lot
But-
more than 10.
but we figured something out at the middle.
Yeah,
Or at the end, I'm sorry. What did we figure out at the end?
I was hitting here.
Yep.
Fourth one went there, and that freaked me out.
Yep.
And my friend started watching. I started extending my hand down the gun.
Yep, yep.
And squeezing
Yeah,
harder.
and then the other part, when you brought it back too much.
Okay.
Yeah. So you started doing that, and then to compensate for that, you started doing that when it needs to be here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. Good. So we figure it out. Remember that for the next time. Okay. Just the one. Who shot? Okay. Which one was that one?
That was my
Fifth one. Okay.
fifth.
So start off well.
Fifth, and then back seventh.
Okay. Yeah. Those are line breaks. I don't care about it. Right. So why do you think the fifth?
I think I'm healing. I think I'm
Maybe a little bit.
little.
Maybe a little bit. So here's the thing though. Would that hit an alpha at 50 yards with that level of marksmanship? Sure. So you don't really know, right? If I'm going to say anything, I don't know if it's either a heel or lack of patience when the dot was coming down. Where was the dot when you pulled the
I
trigger
was
on that
holding,
one?
like you said, I was holding high right here.
Right here,
Yeah,
right. So
right
maybe it was a little bit
above the top.
higher. Maybe you healed it. I think you just broke it too early, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. All right. Okay. Who shot? Which ones were these?
So I
Which
actually
one
started
were
out.
these three?
I started out initially hitting, and then I think my grip was breaking apart,
Okay.
and then I got kind of pissed that it wasn't,
Hell yeah.
and just continued to get worse.
Yep, yep. And then probably went suppressive after that. So what I need you to do to build up dexterity, because we know you can do it 3 times, right? I need you doing 3, no matter how well or how poorly you're doing. Reset another 3, reset another 3, then 1. Okay, we're building up that dexterity, right? Okay, and 1 and 2. Who shot? Okay, which ones were those 2?
This was my very first one.
Okay,
I'd moved it up to the top, and so I think with the way that I normally pull the trigger and aiming a little bit higher, I
Yep.
lost that one because I readjusted.
and then killed the rest. Okay, and then what happened on the one to
This
the left?
one I felt right as I let it go, I knew it because I pulled to the side with my trigger finger. And
Okay.
I wasn't.
That's right, because you're left-handed.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool.
And I wasn't.
Remember what that
solid
felt
enough.
like right before the round went?
Yeah, I knew it.
Preempt it.
Yep.
Preempt it. Make sense? All right, guys.